Oi oi, my name's Toad, and welcome back to me getting incredibly hot in the English summer, and probably also getting high on glue fumes because I'm in an enclosed space with no windows open. That's not the kit I need. Now, you join me today, don't need that one either, as I am going to be building the Masters of the Chapter. Now, the Masters of the Chapter are an older unit of models that were made back in ye olde days, before I was probably even doing Warhammer. Actually, no, that's a lie. Some of them came out when I was doing Warhammer. That's the one I need. Anyway, now, I found out about these guys because I have this. It's the old Apocalypse book, and I used to play Apocalypse all the time. I have too many models. So, as I was cooking alive in the summer heat of England, I cracked open this old bad boy and decided to just have a flick through because I have nothing better to do because I'm a useless art student. So then I came across this, the Masters of the Chapter. Now, it doesn't give you any actual information about what any of these models do, but they looked pretty cool. So that's when I turned to my old friend, the Lexicanicum. So, I hear you proverbially ask from... I really messed that one up. So, I hear you proverbially ask from the other side of your screen, because obviously I can't see you. I'm talking to a tripod, because I'm the shadow in my room who builds models on camera. But, so I hear you ask, what's the point of me going through all of this rigmarole just to point out some old models that don't even really look that good? I like them. So I'm going to show you how to remake them with like 2 kits and more spare bits than I'm willing to let on that I spent the money on. But the 2 kits you'll need. Wait, 2 kits? 2 kits. The 2 main kits you'll need. Plague Marines. The Havocs. Mainly because they got bigger bodies and they're pretty cool armor. You could probably also do with some of the older Terminator kits. The Blood Angels one should still be around. I've got access to the old Deathwing ones. There's this one here, right? You might also need some other bits and bobs, although I'll show you workarounds if you don't have access to them. Okay, so I've got this funky little microphone right here, and I think it sounds pretty cool. So let's roll with this. Aye, as you just saw, I just deplagued a Plague Marine, because I prefer the way this Mark III armor looks over the new Mark III armor. Also, I bought this kit before the new Mark III armor was out. Also, the new Mark III armor has really stupid helmet. Anyway, back on point. So as you just saw, I deplagued the Marine, and you probably noticed that I removed the grenade and began to stick a couple skulls there. He's an executioner. What were executioners famous for? Taking people's heads. So I figured that was a pretty solid replacement just to cover up that weird line that I couldn't be asked to sculpt. And it looks pretty good, so we'll go with that. Next up on the chopping block, if you will excuse the pun, is his melee weapon. Now, for this I wanted to go with something big, brutal, a statement piece. So I went with this massive axe from the Horus Heresy Praetor, because it's big and it looks cool. No real modifications made, I just chopped it off the sprue like normal, stuck it together, and whacked it on his body, because I couldn't think of anything else to say here, and I'm out of axe puns. For now. Until I think of some more. I'm not scripting this, I'm really sorry. Following this, I decided to move on to the next most prevalent part of this mini, his absolutely awesomely decked out jump pack. So, I started off by taking this jump pack from the Blood Angels Death Company kit. The first one because the Primaris one is god awful, don't buy it. please don't waste your money. The Firstborn one, on the other hand, has some excellent bits that I think pretty much any Space Marine army can use if you just shave off some of the Blood Angel iconography, which is exactly what I did at one point, because I took the blood symbols and just shaved them straight off. I also removed the wings that were with them because I'm making him a Black Templar. Black Templars don't generally tend to have wings on them. But, moving on from that, the first thing that I noticed it was missing was the winged skulls that were on the side. So I took the two wings with the blood drop from the Death Company kit as well. All these bits are coming from the same kit at the moment. And I cut off the blood drop part. Then, with much skill and determination, I used my hobby knife, which is an X-Acto blade, I think. The metal stabby instrument I'm using in front of me, to cut two Citadel skulls in half down the middle, making sure that one side was slightly thicker than the other, so that it protruded a bit more from the jump pack. Then, once that was done, I glued the skulls onto the side of the jump pack, and the wings behind it. Funnily enough, the wing that goes on the left side, I stuck on the left side of the jump pack. Anyway, I was left with this winged skull motif that matches very nicely up with the original. And the the other thing you've probably noticed is he's got the weird iron halo thing with the skull in the middle. You can't really easily find any... Oh, wait! Just have leftover bits from the Dark Apostle kit like I do, and you've got it. It even comes with some pretty funky smoke effects, which really helps to modernize the Mini. So, what you do here is you just make a few cuts, as you can see me doing on screen right now. I hope I'm doing this on screen. I'm going to edit this after I finish recording, so... Oh god, I need to stop ad-libbing. The new Mark III Marines helmets look too small, and I'm going to put them on Imperial Guard Marines because I don't like the new helmets. They're too small. Put them on Imperial Guard. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. I'm going to edit all this out. Yeah, so I cut it up as shown on screen. I then glued it together and glued it on top of the jump pack in order to create the iron halo effect with the skull in the middle. I then glued all of this onto his back. First, before I stuck his jump pack on, I gave him a pair of shoulder pads. These are from the Vanguard Veterans kit. However, any shoulder pads of your choice will do. I'm using some Black Templar ones later on, some Blood Angels ones. Just make them for whichever chapter you want. All of these models are going to get thrown into my Black Templar army, so they're all going to become Black Templars in the end, but yeah, just whatever shoulder pads you want. I stuck his jump pack on after I added the shoulder pads, and then for a final variation, I decided to give him an Executioner's hood, because I like the original head, but I just felt that it kind of strayed from the pack with the fact that it wasn't bold like the rest, and also I wanted to give him an Executioner's hood, so this head is from the Deathwing, the old Deathwing Terminators kit. And with that, he's done. Let's move on to the next lad. Alrighty then, so with this guy here, I wanted to go with a real nice body, because I'm going for the Master of the Relics. I think that's what he's called. Yes, that is exactly what he's called. Alright. If I'm wrong, tell me. But I figured a good starting place for this would be his body. So, recently I worked at Games Expo and I spent a lot of the money I earned there on the Age of Darkness box set because I'm effective with my money. And I didn't know what to do with the two Praetors, but I really wanted to use them for my Black Templar on something special, so I figured I'd use them here. So for the first one I'm going to use the Sons of Horus Praetor, whose axe we just used in the last guy. Funnily enough. After cutting him up and sticking them all together, I came across this old plasma no. Combi plasma. Okay, I don't like what Games Workshop did to combi weapons in the new update. I love Sternguard veterans. Give me back separate weapon profiles, please! Oh, sorry. I really need to stop letting these rants take me over. Anyway, I found this old combi plasma in my bits box. Now, this one here is made from the Combi Plasma from the Land Raider Excelsior, which I know is a very rare kit and very hard to come by. I just have one, because why not? Again, I just have so much random stuff in my collection. But I've got this old Combi Plasma. He's got one of the old Deathwing Terminator's shoulder pads on it, because, again, I don't know why I made this or what for. I've just had it in my bits box for a while now. And I think also Purity Seal on it. But it fitted very nicely with the Combi Plasma that was being held in the old model, so I figured I'd just chuck that on him. So after that, I assumed the next and most important thing was probably his right arm. I just took a Chaos Space Marine arm, cut off the overtly Chaos bit of the trim, but left a majority because it matched the rest of the armor quite nicely. I then just took a closed fist, which you can find in pretty much any Firstborn Marine kit. I think this one is from the Devastator's kit, if you're really going to be pedantic about it, but literally any Firstborn kit, you'll find a closed fist that you can use. Hey, you might even find some with a grenade in them. Then I went to work on the power pack. So I wanted a bit of a variation on the original, and the original's cool, but it doesn't really evoke relic to me. So I wanted to build it all around this anvil piece from the new Cities of Sigmar Steel Helms kit. This kit is awesome for any nightly Space Marine chapter. You know, you get a banging banner, which I've already used on some of my bikers, and you also then have the excellent little details like these smaller banners, which you can chuck on backs of Space Marines power packs, like I'm doing here. So I took the little one with the anvil, I cut it off of the pole, and plonked it right on top of a power pack, which is from the Grey Knights Strike Squad, which is because they come with some pretty nicely detailed power packs. Following that, I then took the Comm Specialist power pack from the Phobos kill team. I think that you can get this power pack in the normal Phobos Marines anyway. Yeah, you should be able to. Anyway, moving on. Cut all the little knobbly bobbly bits off, and then just stuck them on assortedly, you know, the radar dish and the two things, to make it look like the original, just with a bit of extra flair. Left that to dry, because as it's been shown, if you don't leave things to dry, they tend to fall off if you try and manhandle them too much. I then just chucked that on his back and called it a day for the body. Oh, and side note, for the head I just used one of the Mark 6 heads, bear heads with the beard and the radar thing on his ear, and the other shoulder pad is a Mark 2 or Mark 3 shoulder pad, I can't remember. One of the slightly more armoured, archaic looking ones from the Horus Heresy again. Again, he's the master of relics, he's going to have old ass stuff. Make him look cool, you know? Moving on to the next set of 4 guys, because I'm intending on using 4 of the Havoc bodies for this. I'm going to run through the exact same step for all 4 of them, because I'm going to do the exact same step for all 4 of them. So there's no point me showing you that 4 times, so let me just quickly explain what I'm going to do whilst you can see me doing one of them, and then I'll just do a nicely edited little montage, if I can figure out how to... Anyway. So, as you can see, this guy here has lost his legs. In case you're wondering where his legs went, check the little pinned comment in the pinned video in the top there, and you'll find out what I used the rest of his legs on. But that gives me an excellent opportunity to add some more detail into the models. And as such, I decided to then take 4 different sets of legs from Terminator kits. Again, Deathwing Knights. They're not the Deathwing Knights. The Deathwing Terminators, the old kit, and some of the Grey Knight Terminators. Because the lower half of their legs, the shins, actually match quite nicely with the size of the shins of the Havocs. So I figured I'd just use that. I glued that on, and I've also gone around and quickly removed all of the overtly spiky bits, like I did with the Master of Relics on his arm, so that the arms and bodies all had a nice bit of trim on them that made them look a bit fancier than your average bloke. So yeah, let's get the montage going now that hopefully you've seen me do it once. Whee!
Right, so I'm about halfway through. It's really hot in here at the moment. That is because it's currently in the middle of scorching English weather. I'm in a suit and tie. Anyway, about halfway through, I've built 4 out of the 8 models I'm building today, and it's going alright. I'm pretty happy with them so far. I have mixed up a few of the poses. I got a bit bored and built my chaplain. So I ended up cutting both of my thumbs. I didn't do it doing this. I was de-chaosing it and just slipped. Twice. Ah well. Anyway. I was also building some horses, but that's because I've got no attention span. Anyway. Let's get back to it. That's paint water.
Okay, so moving on from building all of the bodies, I decided to start with the Master of the Watch. Do I know what he does? Absolutely not. So again, if anybody could let me know, that would be much appreciated. Oh, also, side note, I found another microphone, so we're giving this one a go this time. Now, to begin with, the first thing I wanted to work on with him was his shield. I've had this idea to create slightly better looking storm shields for a while because I'm not a big fan of the buckler look, and I wanted to create something that's a bit of a midpoint between the Blade Guard Veteran shield and the Tower shield of the Deathwing Knight's current kit. The way I envisioned creating this was I took one of these, classic buckler storm shields, and I stuck it on top of one of the Free Guild Steel Helm's shields in order to create an elongated tower shield style, in order to kind of help accentuate the more knightly aesthetic of the Black Templar. Following this, I felt it apt to begin working on the rest of the model. I stuck on a power pack. This one is from the Mark III kit, and I also used a cape. Now, this is from the old Deathwing Knight box. However, any cape should work. The Sword Brethren have an excellent selection of capes that you can use on pretty much any model, and I do use them later on in the video. But following that, I then wanted to make his axe. I've got a leftover axe from the Leviathan Librarian, try saying that 5 times fast, and I took this and removed the overtly, psycho elements from it, which left me with a pretty good looking axe that was very unique, and not many other Space Marine characters have an axe that looks like it. So I then cut it off at the hilt, removing the part of the wrist that came with it, and then attached it to an arm that was bent in order to create a look of him having the shoulder resting, his axe resting on his shoulder. I then also took another arm, attached the shield so that he was holding the shield down at his waist. Alright, so, next lad we're going to be tackling is the Master of the Rites. So, first of all, just stick whichever arms you want on him. Just make sure they look alright in a downward position. I personally am going to be giving him a power sword and a storm bolter, because that's what I've got access to and it looks pretty funky, and you don't really see storm bolters on non-Terminator models anymore. Following that, the main part of this kit bash is going to be showing you how to make that rather funky power pack that he's got with the 2 speakers on it. So, how I did that is I took 2 of these kind of back banner bits from the Dark Angels Veterans kit. This is the Firstborn kit, and I then just flipped them around so that I had the wing motifs facing forwards. Now, I sculpted, we'll go with that, these 2 speaker grills in the style of the old Imperial Guard bits with the help of a bit of blue stuff. I'm not going to be reproducing these for selling. This is just me making them for my own thing because I'm not that good at sculpting yet. And I shaved them down and then superglued them in the center to create the winged speaker motifs. Following that, I then stuck the 2 speaker motifs onto a power pack,
and then I began attaching everything else to the model. So as I mentioned, I attached the Stormbolter arm and the Power Sword arm to him, and then I attempted to affix the cape that, from the Horus Heresy Sons of Horus Praetor, because I wanted to use it on a model and it looked pretty nice on him. Now this is quite finicky, so you are going to have to give it a couple attempts and it will likely fall off. Just keep persevering, use glue, use super glue if need be if you want to get it done quick, but I'd recommend plastic glue if you want it to last longer. Following that, you don't need to worry about shoulder pads because they come with the cape. Then I just simply stuck his power pack on and called it a day. Oh, and I, once again added a bald head for posterity. So, after giving the Master of the Recruits the old leg treatment, as per usual for a Havoc body, I wanted to then make his torso a tad more interesting than the rest. So I figured, easiest way to do that, Terminator torsos. Guess what? They're the same size as the Havoc torsos. So I just took one of the Grey Knight Terminator torso front parts. Again, that's such a mouthful of words. This bit here that I'm doing on the screen right now, hacked it up a little bit until it fitted, and slapped it on there with some plastic cement. Left that to dry. Now I also did that because I stuck some Terminator Grey Knight legs on him, yada yada. You know what I mean. Then I began work on his arms. So the classic model has a modified bolter, as well as another power sword. Now, these two arms can be very easily made. For the power sword, I wanted to go for a bit more of a gladius look, as I don't really have much of that in my army, due to me going for a bit more of a classic knight theme, and gladiuses aren't very classically knightly swords, in my opinion, at least. Again, an absolute massive mouthful, so with any luck it's not too bad. But, following on from that, regarding the bolter, I wanted to go with something a bit more fancy, and keeping with the Firstborn theme, I've been going with all these models, I decided to take one of the bolters from the Battle Sisters box set, because, they come with some pretty interesting relics, and the majority of them can be held in one hand. Very easy and very nice to turn into a one-handed bolter for an opposite hand instead, which is exactly what I did, as you can see here. Now, the other modification I made to the bolter, as per the original, it has a bunch of funky scopes on it. As we used the Phobos kit already, I just took one of the top bits for the scopes regarding that, and cut it off and stuck it on top of the bolter, before then attaching the bolter to an arm and sticking it on. I believe the Gladius that I used is from the Primaris Ancient kit, which I have used a few times in my army, and you can see what I did with it on my Instagram account. The rest of the kit, that is. I went with another hooded head for this kit, as I wanted it to be really quite special. And for the power pack, I used one of the Dark Angels Veterans ones. As again, he's a specialist character, I want him to look a bit more interesting. Now, I did also give him a cape and a tabard. So, regarding the cape, I used a half cape from the Doomfire Warlocks. I believe that's what they're called, but I used one of the capes from there, and I then used some green stuff to sculpt it into his back. Now, the tabard is one from a video I made a couple months ago. Please ignore how long ago it's been since I made a video. And if you check the link at the top right now, you should be able to find out how to make this tabard exactly.
So, in order to shake things up a bit, I've decided to make the next guy using the Plague Marine armor. I've also gone back to my old microphone because, again, like I said, figured I'd shake things up a little bit. You've got to keep you on your toes after all. So, I once again de-nurgled and de-plagued and all of that, yada yada yada. This time I didn't cut my thumbs open on him, so that's a plus. But once I'd done that, I then glued him together as per normal. Now, this guy is going to be this lad, the Master of the Armory. Now, the reason I specifically chose Mark III armor is because his original model very clearly is Mark III armor. It's got a helmet, it's got a power fist, it's got a power sword. So, the bits you'll need on top of this original body are a bald head. I believe the one I've got is from the Primaris Intercessor kit. A power fist,
an old Mark III helmet, if you can get your hands on it, because, I mean, if you were listening to my rant about the current Mark III helmets, you'll know I'm not going anywhere near them if I can get my hands on it. However, some of the Plague Marine kits should have a suitable helmet that you could use instead, with a bit of deplaguing, and subsequently a power sword. This one, I believe, is from the current Deathwing Knights kit. With our lad suitably deplagued and his holes filled with milliput, don't take that the wrong way, I then moved on to his left arm. Yeah, that's the left arm. Of which I took a Deathwing Terminator Power Fist, because again I have access to them and I think they look cool. However, any Power Fist of your choice, as long as it has got its palm out and not in a fist shape, if that makes sense. Basically so you can rest a helmet on it. I then took this helmet, again it's an old one, hence why it's got paint on it, and I removed the neck. I'd already removed the neck because I'd used it on a different project, but you'll probably have to remove the neck of yours. Just use your hobby snips, it'll be fine. I cut up the arm a bit so that it was in the right pose, stuck it on another bit of an arm, stuck it on the body, and then stuck the helmet on the arm. Does that make sense? Yeah, that makes sense. I did a similar thing for the other arm. I took the kind of right hand and forearm part that was holding the sword, cut that off of the rest, stuck it onto a normal arm, attached that to the right side of the body, and called it a day regarding the arms. I then added a power pack and a helmet. Well, no, not a helmet. Power pack and a head. I can speak today, I swear. And then I added the shoulder pads in. Again, any shoulder pads of your choice will do, as I've been doing with the rest of the models. Whatever your army is, whatever your theme is, add the shoulder pads in, you'll be sorted. Now, this is where it gets a bit interesting, because for the cape, I decided to go with a Sword Brethren cape, as I mentioned earlier in the video. I stuck that on, and then using a little bit of the milliput that I mixed up earlier, I then blended it in to make it look like the cape was tucked in around the shoulder pad on the left. And he was done! Ready for painting.
So, starting with the next lad. Also, I went back to my other microphone because I realised it sounds better. I do apologise about my fickleness when it comes to audio quality. I'm still figuring stuff out when it comes to my channel. Anyway, when it comes to this lad, this is the Master of the Fleet. So, he comes with a standard power hammer, and that's exactly what I gave him. I wanted to go with one that looked a bit more interesting, so I chose the Relic Power Hammer from the Vanguard Veterans kit. His body is, again, a standard Havoc body with Grey Knight Terminator legs, and for his other arm, I wanted to go with a plasma pistol, as the other model just kind of has him stood there holding his cape like a Burke, so I figured I'd give him some actual dynamism and interest to his model. For the shoulder pads, I gave him a standard Black Templar one, but for the left hand one, but for the right hand one, then I wanted to give him something that was a bit more evocative of the original, so going to the Blood Angels Sanguinary Guard kit, they have a shoulder pad with a small little wing motif. Because, you know, Blood Angels, they got wing motifs on everything. But with this one specifically, I shaved off some of the more Blood Angels detail. You can keep this if you like. And also trimmed down the jewel symbol so that it was less of a blood drop and more of a jewel, like the original shoulder pad detail, as shown on screen right now. And then with that, after accidentally knocking his cape off, because I seem to not be able to stick anything to any models for any extended period of time, and then adding a power pack from the Death Company kit, I call him done, and I was pretty happy with him. If anything, I think he's probably my favourite of the bunch. And again, because I just really can't keep any model parts together. This is the reality of making YouTube, is it's just editing out me knocking bits off. Anyway, next guy. With him, I wanted to make the Master of the Rights. Now, I did accidentally call him the Master of the Rights earlier, but this is the Master of the Rights. So I started with the next Horus Heresy Praetor kit from the Age of Darkness box set, because again, I had it kicking about and I wanted to use it on something special. You could do the same bodies as either the Havocs or the Plague Marines again, but I wanted to show you how you could in theory do this with a pre-existing character model. So, after gluing him all together, cape and all, I switched out his backpack first with the speaker one from the Land Raider Excelsior. Again, if you wanted to recreate this at home because you don't have this part, you could in theory use the speaker trick that I showed you with the Master of the Marches earlier. And then I went to the same kit again for his left arm with the weird Crozius thing, because it matched up again very nicely with the original model. I wonder if they took any form of inspiration. I guess not, but they could have. So after gluing that on, I then went on to attach his other arm, which is just, you know, a standard Praise the Emperor arm. I could have given him a gun if I wanted to, but that strayed away from the vision of a bald nutter screaming at the sky that I really wanted to kind of leave this model with. So for the arm, I took a normal Chaos Space Marine arm, again, de-chaosed it, and gave it an open palm from the Sanguinary Guard, I believe. And then lastly, a Primaris Screaming head, because they have some really good bald heads actually. It's one of the few things I will give the Primaris kits.
And with that, we're done. Mostly, I've still got to paint them, but I'm going to record the outro now because it's my video. Go watch someone else if you're not happy with the way I think I do things. Speaking of, I'm doing things a bit differently now. I've decided to take my channel in a different direction because I wasn't making videos I was happy with. I don't like scripts, as you can tell. I also then got sidetracked building so many Black Templars. Hence, this is what these guys are going to be painted as, but if you want to see more of that, like earlier on in the video, you can just go find my Instagram. I do post on there. None of it is serious. And again, like I said, if you don't like the fact that it's not scripted anymore, go watch somebody else's video. Hopefully you enjoy me just being the version of me that I am normally. And anyway, I'll probably better keep this short before the Inquisition comes and gets me for being too boring. Models. I hope you enjoyed the content. I'm going to be doing like monthly videos with the most random ideas, as you can see by just resurrecting an entirely old unit of models that you can't even buy anymore. You haven't been able to buy for... Why did I make this... Right, very quickly. Future Toad here, you can tell because no tie. I didn't manage to get all the models painted. You're going to get to see the glamour shots in a minute. That's when I decided to do all of this. But I didn't get them fully painted. I got some of them fully painted, but I just ran out of time because I haven't made a video in like too long. So I'm just getting it made and put out there. I'm going to give myself a month between every video in future, so should hopefully have enough time to get it done. I also need to learn to speak properly. Anyway, glamour shots, right. Wonderful time, and I'll see you next month where I am probably going to be turning my Leviathan models into something completely different and Iron Warriors-y related. If you know what that means, please leave me a comment. It'd be wonderful to know that I'm not the only Sado who knows this niche bit of lore. I am sorry about my generally dishevelled appearance in this video. It is so warm. Anyway, chin chin. That's still paint water.